All right, well, welcome everybody to the 24th PitchIt event. It's our 24th show, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, exciting, very exciting, very exciting. So I want to thank all of you guys for coming out tonight. We're pretty excited. Tonight's a bit of a unique show because we have a regular awesome 4 pitches, but we also have a couple of speakers coming in to talk, so pretty excited about that. So I guess the first thing we'll do is we'll jump into kind of why we're here and what we do. So for some of you that are new and people that have been here before, this is our 24th show. You can find us on all of the social media places, so you guys are more than welcome to send pictures, tweet, all that great stuff to support what we're doing. And while you're doing that, feel free to post questions. What things would you like to ask an angel investor? We normally come up with the question and run this during the show, but I'd like to ask you guys questions that you would like answered. So post those on social. We'll grab them, and either tonight we'll have them answered, or we will actually carry them over to the next event. So why are we here today? Well, we're here in support of 4 great startups. We put this on to help the startups get stage friendly, being able to get out in front of a large crowd, or at least a great healthy crowd. And then from there, get some feedback from the angel investors on what they think, directions that they should take, and also start to build a relationship with those angel investors around their product and their business. So it's a great stepping stone for the pitch companies. And then from there, we jump right into the Q&A, so you guys can interact with the brands as well. And it works as a little bit of marketing, so everybody gets a little more insight on these companies. So at PitchIt, we help you spend less time looking for money and more time growing your companies. So as we work with you and get you working through your business fundamentals, our whole process after that is to help you get in front of the angel groups so that you can start to raise dollars. And in that process, we kind of have to work through a lot of the fundamentals so that you get better at pitching, but also understand your business a little bit better. So that's what we do at OPN and PitchIt. Here are some of the great companies over the last year that have pitched with us. Some you might recognize. We probably have had now close to 100 companies that we've had pitch in the last year in all of our shows. And we've had close to 400 plus companies that have come to us looking for help, and at all different stages from Series A and down. So you guys could try and figure out how to get your logo on there. I think that's your next goal. So our sponsors, I want to thank Flow Water. They're actually a great company. They're on year 3. We invested in them probably around that same time. They've grown to be quite the great company in Canada. They're now in 7,000 locations across North America and expanding daily. They're launching new products, and they've been sponsoring our events since day one. So we thank Flow for all of their help and being part of it. We've been members of part of Lodge on Queen, which is where we are today, and Ron and Diane rock, and they're really good people, and they help sponsor and give us a space so that we can run PitchIt. So big hand for them for helping us out. Miller Thompson is one of the OPN's partners. They came on pretty early and a big fan of helping startups as well. So if there's any details or understanding on things that you need done legally, come to us and we can help you figure that out and tie in Miller Thompson to help. So another great partner. And last but not least, VirtuZone, which is our hosting partner, and they've been working with Hardboot, who is the company that helps run all of this. Which is my software company, but at the end of the day, VirtuZone is a provider of support in hosting. So they take care of all of our client works, including the startups we work with, and they've jumped up to start sponsoring our events as well because they enjoy what we're doing. So thank you to those guys. All of these things wouldn't be possible without them. So it's all been great, so thank you. Oh, and I always forget to introduce myself. My name is Jeffrey. See, I have to cue this up just so that I can share that. All these great details are there. You guys can find me on LinkedIn, so I'll leave it at that. But looking forward to reach out and talking to all of you. So, pitch format, why we're all here. We have an 11-minute pitch for startups. When the pitch is complete, there will be 1 minute-ish from the advisors. In that 1 minute, they will give you critical feedback, and the pitch company will just sit here, take notes, understand the comments, and then we'll go to the crowd, and we'll do 5 minutes of Q&A from the crowd. So at the end of the day, they get a lot of great input from everybody on their kind of as they're moving forward as a business. So we're pretty excited to share and help with them. If you guys haven't done it yet, drop your business cards in, because we do a couple different draws in the night for t-shirts and all other great things that are that we have. I don't know what they all are, but t-shirts is one of them. And who doesn't want a sick t-shirt that says "My best 11"? It's phrased, it's coined, trademark somewhere. All right, so the three people that are going to be giving us their undivided critical attention and driving out some great feedback. We'll start with Angelo. I'm a fan of Angelo's, and I love saying, very knowledgeable. He's been in this space helping startups for at least 1 year, because he's a young man. He's got 30 plus years of driving and helping startups, so his feedback's critical. What he says, just do it. That's pretty much how I look at it. But he's great, and he's part of York Angels, and he's been a leading driver in that as well, so that's pretty helpful. Second, we have Prathna, who is heading up and driving out Maple Leaf, which is going through a lot of great changes. So she's leading the force, so another great person to get some good feedback from. And Jess, who I admire and think is also amazing, heads up and runs York Angels, and somebody that certainly has a lot of great feedback, but lots of years of experience in helping startups. So we've got a great panel for you guys today. And I implore you all to make sure that you trap them for hours after we're done and ask them many questions. All right, so who's pitching today? We have Mindset, Founded, OCE, Thriving, Robin, and Bark and Yapp. So we're very excited to move forward. So what we're going to do is we're going to have Jacob from Mindset. He's going to come up first. So just before he does, I want to thank you guys all for coming out. So my applause to you guys for being awesome and joining us tonight. Oh no, I just got to swap over. Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks a lot. I have a terrible reputation with microphones, so if anybody in the back can't hear me, just kind of wave and I'll speak a little louder. Nice to meet you. Cool, so quick summary. Let's see if the clicker is responding. I'm Jacob, representing Mindset. We are making smart headphones that improve your concentration. So right now we've sold for about 1.6 million in pre-sales, selling for another 40,000 month over month on our own platform. And we have a functional prototype. We'll be shipping all of our units in about 6 months. So my story starts, let's say, 8 years ago. I did a lot of math and science tutoring, as I think most engineers tend to. I scaled that up to, let's say, paying for most of my university and my rent while I was going through college. And what I found was, for some reason, smart-driven students that I was tutoring were failing all of their classes. So I tried to solve that. I launched a tutoring platform, miserable failure. Apparently the premise that content is the problem was inherently flawed. But somewhere between the content and the test, the learning process was lacking in a lot of students. So I spent about 2 years following that platform trying to learn the cognitive psychology of learning, essentially the process by which we consolidate memories, we learn stuff, and then we're able to retrieve that when we want to execute it on a test. And I wrote a book on study habits for students. And during that process, what I found was the limiting factor for a lot of students was their ability to engage in deep, focused attention on command and for long periods of time. In retrospect, that makes a lot of sense, right? After a tutoring session of an hour, most of the students would be brain dead. Like, you're just exhausted, you're checking your phone, you can't handle it anymore. And the reality is our physiology is not tuned for the type of concentration we have to be doing every day. But this is the world we live in. So our premise, essentially, the story behind this, the reason we're doing it, is these stats. And there's many others. These are just my favorites. So we waste on average 20,000 hours distracted in the workplace over the course of our career. That is an exorbitant amount of time. And right now, the latest study coming out of Harvard showed that 29% of people now identify problems focusing as being their #1 issue in the workplace. So people are rallying. Everyone's thinking that this is a real problem, right? And the premise that underlies the company is this, is that concentration issues are becoming the most universally detrimental issue in the modern workplace. So, turns out there's a technology that already solves this. It's existed for about 30 years. It's called clinical neurofeedback. You go into a medical setting, you put on a full EEG cap, it takes about an hour to set up, they read your brain activity, and what they do is they let you know whenever you get distracted. And what that does is it trains your subconscious mind to better recognize its own distractions. And over, let's say, 6 months, you can train away the symptoms of ADHD, or if you're a neurotypical individual, you can improve your concentration. The problem is it costs like 35 grand. It's ridiculous. So what we've done is we've compensated for that technology with better software, machine learning, AI, all the time. So what we have is a pair of Mindset headphones. It is an over-ear headphone, Bluetooth, noise canceling. The audio is powered by Onkyo, so you know it'll sound good. And what we've added to that is 5 EEG sensors, 2 behind the ears and then 3 on top of the head. It measures the electrical activity from the upper cortical layer of your brain. It detects your distractions before they happen, and it lets you know whenever you get distracted. And what that does is over time, it trains your subconscious to better recognize and tune out distractions, so you can just be more concentrated in the long term. Moving over to some of the business, the market is relatively massive. Headphones, we see ourselves as the intersection of 3 growing markets. So headphones, to begin with, is an $11 billion market, right? Growing massively over year. The tendency right now in headphones is towards these large over-ear active noise canceling headphones. So we're playing on that trend. In neurotech devices, it's led primarily on the medical side, but the fastest growing segment is consumer. And what we really like is that productivity software is growing 27% year over year. And the reason is that nobody really is doing a very good job. And the reason for that is that there's no feedback loop. There's no way to tell whether your software is any good. And that's the power of Mindset. We can tell the effectiveness of our tools because we can measure your concentration as you go. Now, our competitive advantage is threefold. The first thing is that compared to any other EEG device, any other physiological indicator, in a typical situation at work, you're going to be wearing your headphones for about 3 hours a day. That's 20 times more than any other device in this category. And what that means is we're collecting infinitely more data. With that data, we can be running much more sophisticated software on it. Proper machine learning, closer to Siri, less like the typical stuff that's frequency analysis done in medical. The combination of those two things means that we can create a pattern recognition system for EEG data that goes way beyond concentration. We're starting with engagement. We can do mind wandering. We can move to stress, cognitive fatigue. We can do emotional states. And all of that in a device that you could be wearing anytime that's comfortable, that you also like to play music with. It's a powerful solution, and that puts us miles ahead of any other physiological indicator right now in the market. Now, business model is quite simple. We're entering through B2C. We're selling for $419. That gives us a healthy margin that will let us to go onto retail later on if we'd like to. And really, that's just an entry point to be able to collect all the data. So we launched our Kickstarter about 6 months ago, sold about 1.3 million on there, and now we're moving forward with online consumer sales. Really what that enables us to do is enter the B2B market. That's where the real value lies. And this is because we've noticed that every office identifies and rallies behind this problem of my employees are not concentrated enough and I don't know what to do about it. What this lets us do is not only sell the hardware, but have a SaaS platform on top of that where you can be monitoring the cognitive engagement of all your employees in real time, all the time. And this is something that employers are already doing through software, but they're using computer clicks or your own input as a proxy for the real metric, which is productivity. We can go right to the source and get that instead. Now, the long-term plan, which is, I think, really interesting, is that this is a flowchart illustrating how AI works. It starts with the data, create a prediction model, you've got an action that comes out of that, and then you measure the outcome, you give the feedback loop. And that's how we train AI, and nowadays AI is in everything. What we want to be doing is we want to be essentially connecting that feedback loop. The reality is right now, for any AI platform, in any software industry, the toughest thing for them to do is tell whether any of what they're doing is working. When you have a bunch of customers that are wearing a headphone that tells their engagement vis-a-vis your platform, that data is so inherently valuable. And that's really what we want to be bringing to market. We want to position ourselves as being the biosensing device that helps train the world's AI. This is our founding team, myself and my two co-founders. David has a lot of experience in biomedical devices, Warren in neural informatics and AI. Moving forward, our experience, we started through the Next 36 and Hacks accelerators. We spent the last 8 months in Shenzhen working on the product development, launched our Kickstarter. We're partnered up with Onkyo on all the headphone elements of this to kind of not have to worry about the headphone parts and really focus on the core that is the brain tech. And now we are going to be shipping in about 6 months. And actually, we recently won an innovation award from CES. Yay. This is the team we brought on board. Sanj has experience in marketing. She founded a marketing ticketing company, and she's been working at a lot of tech companies and tech startups. Nelson has 2 degrees in biostatistics and data science. Chris has 35 years of experience in electronics, and Adrian has a PhD in specifically measuring EEG to measure mind wandering. So we've stacked together a team of experts in their respective fields to really help bring the tech to market. And moving forward, we're going to continue to do so. So, last slide. I'll save you the troubles. We are raising a 1.5 million seed round. So if any of you are interested, I would love to speak to you afterwards. Right now we have 300,000 committed from SOS Ventures. We're hoping to close this in the next couple months. So if any of you would like to speak, I will be around. Thanks.
Jess, do you want to start? Thank you.
Thanks, Jacob. That was.
Oh, sorry. It's on.
Thanks, Jacob. Thanks, Jacob. That was a great presentation, and it's nice to see the evolution since Montreal and some of our chats there. A couple of quick questions, just so I understand better. With regards to the headphones, when you're wearing them, could anyone tell that they're not just your average headphones? Like, is it discreet enough that you could be wearing them in public without people knowing that you're getting the biofeedback? Okay. Fair enough on that one. Love the fact that you're doing the big data play as a secondary channel. B2C, a strong way to go forward, and then the B2B, the fact that you've already partnered with notable manufacturers, I think gives you a lot of credibility. 1.5 as a seed round sounds like a maybe seed is, that there's a lot of different people, different terms, and the way people use it. Seed sounds like a maybe not quite the right name for that round, but it sounds like you're on a great trajectory, your delivery's smooth, and I like the way you started off with the story. I think you brought people in, and your journey and how long you've been working on it is something that will really resonate with investors as you go forward, because they understand not only your personal journey through it and how you've learned, but also the team. You've brought a really strong team forward to bring. So it's a strong, solid presentation. Thank you.
All right. Well, Jacob, I think just to echo some of Jess's thoughts, we had met in Montreal as well, and I know you had a very good story at that point, so it's nice to see that happening well on the strong growth trajectory. But a couple of other things that I put down. I know in the beginning you started off talking about a story and just in terms of concentration from a student perspective as well as from a workforce perspective. I think it would be good to kind of narrow it down to one out of the two, just because you're kind of shuttling back and forth. The other thing you mentioned AI. I like that you said, AI is now everything. You're recognizing that this is a buzzword and people, so it's good to elaborate on exactly how you're using it. I see that you put up that flow chart. That too, in my opinion, is a little general, and you could be more specific for the folks in the room that are more technically capable and then they know what's going on. The other thing I saw on the slides, you had mentioned about your patents. That's something you probably want to speak to as well, because it's obviously a technology play, so it's strong that you have a patentable solution. Kickstarter, that's great. In terms of B2B, that is your end goal, and that is your play, and that's what I saw. So I was a little confused as to why you started off with the B2C story and then moved to B2B. It might be good to really state up front as to what the execution is on, so that there's some clarity in terms of what you're going for. And the last thing, I didn't hear too much about your background. and I heard a lot about the team, so it would be good to know how you got into this. So all in all, a very good story. Lastly, sorry, I keep saying lastly. On the financing slide, from an angel investor perspective, we also kind of want to know what the valuation is and terms and such. So I don't know if that's something you put up on a slide, but speak to it, or maybe say that you're happy to talk about it after. Yeah.
I wish you had done your last point, the point before, because that was my first question on the valuation. So what a great presentation, and let me put it on the floor. I did not meet you in Montreal, but I did hear quite a bit of wonderful things about you. So kudos. I can see you're well tuned in terms of being able to present the value proposition. On a mechanics point of view, I get the whole feedback system and the sensors that are embedded in the microphone. And in your feedback loop, you talk about the outcome and then the feeding it back to increase the knowledge of your model. I didn't get a sense of, okay, so you're capturing all of this data, what's it doing to actually get the concentration up? Is the headphone all of a sudden, once it sees the concentration lowering, is it yelling, hey, dude, concentrate? Or how does that interaction with the user occur? And the one thing that I think would be also good is in your presentation to identify the growth scale of the opportunity. Where are you going to be in 2 years? What's the mix between the B2C and the B2B? And also provide some details as to what state is your traction in the B2B marketplace, and what is the key sort of look and feel of a typical business customer for you. But all in all, I think great presentation, great job, and you should come and present to us.
One point I forgot to add is it might be nice to show an exit strategy or a long-term exit. As investors, we like to know that at some point, money will come back to us. It'll be repatriated. So if you can sort of start laying the breadcrumbs of this is where I see, M&A, whatever it is, how you're going to get money back to the investors is a really nice carrot to dangle at the end of the presentation. Okay.
Okay, we're going to do some Q&A, so who has any questions?
Very fascinating. Obviously, the biggest thing that hangs out here, you're not necessarily letting people read your mind, but you're letting them read their mindset. And you're talking about businesses being able to analyze their employees and what they're doing. What about privacy issues? And what if you end up recording things that you didn't necessarily mean to on the outset, but later on become relevant? What happens to that data about that person?
So actually, before getting into neurotech, I didn't think this was as much of an issue as I realize it now is. And there's a lot of organizations now centering themselves specifically about data privacy in neurotechnology in consumer devices, which is kind of cool. So we're speaking to a lot of those organizations to see what the gold standard is in terms of the general policy for consumer. Now, that's slightly different in business, right, where we need to be giving insights to the employer, and that's part of the business strategy. What we noticed was there's a very solid line to which to the left, there are the things you can do, and those to the right, there are the things you can't. And it's much more discrete than I thought it was, where you cannot give employers insights into the data that are individual. You can give insights that are aggregate. And most of the employees and the employers all generally agree that that's okay, because the employers are generally collecting that anyways, right? And it's not like we're giving raw brain data that the employers will then process. We're giving them insights into what your productivity looks like. So that's something they could be collecting in any other way. We're just doing it in a more efficient manner. And when we spoke to employees, generally it was not as much of an issue as I thought it would be.
So just make sure you're not thinking some bad things. Because like Minority Report will be all over your ass before you even know it.
Thank you for the presentation. I was just wondering, because when you said about the AI, that you're collecting all this data, where is this data going and who's going to be able to use it? Because the thing about AI and the thing about the collective data is that the learning is going to be has to be shared with a lot of environments so that we can actually use it. Or otherwise, it's going to be iterative. If somebody's going to collect the data and other people or other companies are going to be collecting the same data, it's going to be iterative. We see like projects like Google Brain or something like that. They will collect data through everything, and everybody can use it. So I didn't understand where is your data going and how can other businesses use it, or maybe other open data platform use it, something like that.
Yeah. So there are actually, my mic has died. Oh, there we go. There are actually two facets to the AI that I wasn't really able to get into super deeply in the presentation. So there's the first one, which is that what we're doing to train our own models, right? Where we see what you're doing, how you're interacting with the computer, what your brain state looks like at any given moment in time. We use that to refine our own internal models so that we can move beyond measuring concentration to measuring a whole bunch of other brain states and adding more value to the user. Secondary to that, there's the financing model, the data strategy that we want to be doing. And this is where we can say, for example, you're listening to Spotify. I can tell how concentrated you are when you're listening to music. So in aggregate, I can give the results to Spotify and sell that and realize to help them train their internal models that predict what song you'll want to be listening to. So that is something they're trying to do already, right? We've been contacted by a couple companies that have been telling us, hey, listen, like we're doing X. All we're missing is the ability to tell whether our feedback is being effective. So they're training their models, and we help them train that model through monetizing our data. In complete parallel to that, we are going to be launching the device with an SDK that lets people build their own applications on top of Mindset using partially our data sources and our algorithms internally. So that, I guess, is a third facet, but it's not one we speak to as often.
Okay, one last question.
I'm just wondering to what extent you have considered for business to business, how does it come into play that it's possible that the reason why people are distracted is because the job is interesting as opposed to them being distracted because their own mind's wandering? See what I'm saying? Like it kind of puts the blame on the employee as opposed to maybe it's the reason the managers and the job itself is not that interesting.
Yeah. What we found when we got into neurotech in general was that in proper like neuroscience academic literature, the word concentration actually is totally not a thing, which is kind of frustrating from our perspective. But what we've then done is we've broken it down into certain metrics. So what you can measure, what we're measuring physically is cognitive engagement, which is how much energy you're projecting towards your task, right? Like kind of what you're saying, that excitement towards your work. The state of mind wandering, which is how often you are, let's say, rereading the same line over and over and just not paying attention to it, right? Deliberate or non-deliberate mind wandering, we kind of differentiate those two. And then the other one that we can expand to would be something like cognitive fatigue. And there are other brain states we can use to kind of capture that. And what we want to be looking at is really a picture of how is your brain right now vis-a-vis what it should be when you're doing your best work. And we have a certain feedback loop that lets us iterate towards, I know when you're being most productive, I know when you're not, through that brain state. That connection from extrapolating brain state to high-level productivity, that's what we've been working to train this model.
Okay, awesome.
Cool.
That was brilliant.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. Can you, what do you need to set up?
That one.
This one?
Yeah. Cool.
Yep. Is there a video?
Yeah.
But you know how to play it, or what do you want to do, or do I gotta?
Press down by him.
Oh, you know how to do it. All right, guys. So now we're gonna have my friend who has come all the way from Australia just for this event. Actually, he came down for a bunch of different events. He's been traveling around the world, and we went and saw him on was it Monday night? Tuesday night. And it was phenomenal. So as soon as I saw him pitch, I said, you have to come in and pitch to our group and let everybody know all the great things that you've been doing. So warm welcome for Cameron.
Cool. So I've only got like 5 minutes, isn't it? So like, I've got to keep it short, sharp. Everyone agree that I'm just awesome and I don't have to introduce myself, so let's just put that to the side, yeah? You can look me up, like Cameron Brown, Thriving Collective, LinkedIn, that kind of thing. what I thought, I thought 5 minutes, what could I give you that would be insightful and valuable that you could walk away with and actually do something with? So I'm going to give a quick sharing around the power of relationships and how it has completely changed my life, allowed me to travel the world and create some phenomenal opportunities. First up, we'll do this video, and then here's something I prepared earlier. Nah. Okay. Okay, so quick video. Oh. Anyone guess the common theme in all of those pieces there? Yeah. Totally. What else? Yes? Anyone else? Relationships, yep. Go one deeper. Yes, community? Every single one of those relationships was built online first. Every single one. It was a digital connection first. So I'm going to give you a quick insight as to how that was the case, and there's a framework behind it that I've realized is extremely powerful. It's called the zone of impact, and it's on the basis that we as human beings have ability to make an impact on 3 different levels. We can make an impact in our own lives, each other's lives, and at a planet level as well. And somebody can be succeeding in their business, in their life, providing for their families, supporting their communities, running a great company. But if that's at the detriment to the well-being of the planet, then all their success is doing is speeding up the rate at which we negatively impact the environment. And so we've got to be looking at all 3 levels first and foremost. And it's inside what I call this zone of impact. So imagine on this side, you've got your internal self, your values, your beliefs, thoughts, emotions, fears, your natural talents and strengths. And over this side is everything that's external to you. Your environment, the company you're running, family, friends, technology, social media, everything outside. When we're in the middle here, your internal self comes into contact with something from the external environment, it creates something new out of that. And it's making an impact on those 3 levels one way or another. It just comes down to whether it's in a positive or a negative fashion. Now, if we look at a relationship specifically, over this side, and let's use LinkedIn, because LinkedIn's been a big one for me personally in terms of building relationships. Just a little insight. 2 years ago, I didn't have a single connection in North America. I didn't even know how to dial a US phone number. And now I have a stronger network here than I do in Australia. I've run a peer network event in Toronto, New York, LA, Vancouver. We had ping pong last night with some killer people, 20 people loving it. And I flew down to New York on Saturday to play 10-pin bowling with people from the UN and other cool places. So really cool. In terms of relationships though, if you've got, let's say for example, fear of rejection, fear of being found out that you're not as good as what people think you are, fear of not being good enough, fear of not being worth it, fear of being abandoned, fear of not being loved, fear of not being respected. Any of these fears are playing out internally, then inside here is a magnifier. And when we're exposed to a new external environment, such as, let's use LinkedIn as the example, it becomes a magnifier in here. And so if you've got a fear of rejection, let's use that as an example, and you send out, say, 100, 1,000, 5,000 messages, for example, and you get a very low response rate, the internal makeup comes in there and it ends up magnifying the rate at which you feel rejected. And so usually the surface level will be, oh, that just doesn't work for my industry, and you give it away. What's really going on is there's a core thing playing out, and unless you get to the core issue, it'll continue going around and around and again, which is what human behavior is. It continues exposing you to experiences that will allow you to maybe overcome it if you get to the core of it. If you stay surface level, then you'll continue getting surface level results. And usually the relationships you'll then build as a result of that will be transactional. 3 years ago, I decided to switch my focus from getting clients because most people around me were looking at doing that. Next 90 days, next 12 months, how can we increase profits? How can we increase revenue? And instead, I just decided to step back and focus instead on building relationships that would last me for the next 10 to 50 years. I'm 3 years into that, and it's going okay. Yeah? And so this zone of impact, it's realizing this, overcoming my own internal blockages allows me to come with a clean map, allows me to come with vulnerability to every conversation that I'm having, which gives the other person permission to do so as well. All of a sudden, there's trust that can be built over the phone, on a video call. I don't care where it is. You can build trusts faster than you've ever been able to before, because not only are you able to bring the best version of yourself, you can also utilize the online platforms to allow people to see who you are. And if that's a match inside here, it magnifies the trust very, very quickly. On the other hand, if you've got a presence online and it's different, when they have a conversation with you, they go, and you, hands up if anyone's had, there's something not quite right about this. Yeah? Nods of the heads. Yeah. What that's going on is there's something going on underneath the surface. Some unconscious behavior that's playing out that they haven't been able to bring that, and it's not consistent. No one makes a buying decision in a confused state of mind. And so having consistency in messaging both offline in terms of the strategies that you're using there, and also being able to bring an absolute clean map to your conversations is incredibly, incredibly valuable. How many minutes have I got? 30 seconds? I'm done. 30 seconds? 30 seconds. So I think a couple of beliefs about approach to building relationships might be really powerful. The first one is give without expectation, knowing that you'll get taken care of in some way, shape or form. Science is proving now that we're all connected. So why do you need something in return from somebody specifically if we're all connected? If you're giving, you're receiving somewhere if you're allowing that to come into your makeup. So it could come in the form of health, it could come in the form of a relationship, it could come in the form of an opportunity. You don't need to know what that's going to be. All of a sudden, you're able to go into it with absolute curiosity, be there to add value, genuinely there to give, without that expectation, knowing you'll get taken care of in some way, shape or form, and all of a sudden the opportunities flow from that. That'll do. 30 seconds, done. Mic drop, boom.
Thank you, thank you. And I actually did meet online, I think it was like 2 years ago, so I've been a fan ever since. So thank you very much, Cameron. Okay, next up is Derek. Founded. 2 seconds. Awesome. There you go, man. Cheers.
Okay, so we're going from the mind to everyone's favorite topic, legal. My name's Derek Hoffner. I'm one of the founders of Founded. We've built a digital legal platform for entrepreneurs and lawyers, and I'm here to talk to you about how we made legal beautiful, accessible, and something that you'll all want to take a look at after this presentation. So all businesses have legal needs, but all businesses aren't hiring lawyers. There's 33 million businesses in North America, and only 10% of them work with a lawyer. So there's a huge opportunity there. When we look at the legal market, though, small and medium-sized businesses are spending money on legal. In fact, they're spending $66 billion a year on legal. And of that, they've carved out $5.2 billion to online alternatives to law firms. So we look at this market and we say, how do we capture the opportunity? And the way we do it, missed a slide, is through an intelligent legal platform that's simple, scalable, and completely automated. So I'd like to show you what that looks like. Imagine you're a business owner and you need to incorporate your company. You can log on to Founded, and you can set up your company super simple with 2 share classes, or you can listen to your accountant's advice and get 30 different share classes, so it's just perfectly set up. And then once you've incorporated through Founded, all of the company formation documents are prepared automatically, and then your business lives on Founded. So what does that mean? Well, your cap table is always up to date, so that's easy. But let's say you change your address of your business. Just do that within the application. We automatically file documents with the government, automatically prepare corporate resolutions, automatically get your directors and shareholders to sign, and everything is done just like magic. You can even create legal documents directly from the platform. things like shareholders agreements, website terms of use, privacy policies, all done within your Founded account so that you know that your business is set up right. So when building Founded, we took a lot of inspiration from accounting. People here are familiar with accounting platforms. We can look at QuickBooks, we can look at Wave, we can look at Xero. All of these platforms have fundamentally changed the way a small business works with their accountant. Accountants aren't afraid of these platforms. If you work with an accountant, the first thing they want you to do is to get set up correctly on one of these accounting platforms. And we took this as inspiration when building Founded. We are that in-between technology layer between your lawyer and your small business. So as a small business, I can go and I can get it set up correctly. These routine tasks are done automatically. And then when the time comes, which it will, that you need to work with your lawyer, you can invite your lawyer into your account and everything's set up right. So your lawyer can focus in on the high-level tasks because you don't want to be paying your lawyer $500 an hour to file that government form to change your address. So how do we make money? We have two main ways that we make money, and it's much like QuickBooks. So we can monetize the relationship with the small businesses in terms of legal software as a service. And I'll go into details in a little bit about what that looks like. And then we can also monetize the relationship with the law firm by creating custom white-labeled solutions that are unique for that law firm and that actually use their document set so they can trust it. The other thing that we're able to do is monetize additional business needs. So things like bank accounts, insurance, loans. We are suddenly becoming a business platform, and these small businesses need these items. So what does our retail model look like? We have 3 tiers. The first is simple incorporation, and it's $29 a month. When you would go to Bay Street, you're looking at somewhere near $3,000. And if you go to just a general lawyer, you're going to be looking somewhere between $1,200 and $1,800 for that kind of service. But again, this isn't a one-time event. You get incorporated and your company lives on Founded. Everything is taken care of. Annual returns, all these things that people's eyes gloss over and they don't want to do are done automatically through our beautiful platform. The other 2 plans have higher services like legal agreements, and then we're working on doing kind of more enterprise level things where you can set up your employee share option plans, vesting schedules, and things like that all directly through the platform. How do we get customers? I've already hinted at a little bit, but we already have relationships with a lot of accelerators and incubators within the Ontario region. Last Tuesday, we were over at Mars doing a talk with their new Entrepreneurship 101 group. We have relationships with Velocity. We have relationships at City Hall with Enterprise Toronto. So working with where businesses live. Second, like I already mentioned, white labels for law firms. We are already in discussions with 2 national law firms and building out a white label solution as a pilot project. And the last thing is online advertising and SEO. And we were selected to work with Google as their only North American partner as kind of a marketing hackathon, which they are using us as their test case to figure out the best way to market. I'm going to skip over competitors. How are we doing for time? 6, oh, I got time. Okay, good. So the competitive marketplace. Other people exist in this space. The biggest one is LegalZoom, and LegalZoom is making a lot of money, $300 million a year. They almost IPO'd 4 years ago and then ended up taking that off the shelf. But there is a huge market for this, but their technology is dated. It doesn't have the continual aspect which our technology does. The second thing we're looking at here is new entrants with companies like Clerky and Seed Legals. These are focused solely on the startup market, whereas we're focused a lot at the larger small business and medium-sized business market. And the last thing is just law firms and different ways to repackage lawyers. And again, we have that ongoing aspect with our company where we can have things automated and you can pay your lawyer for the high-value work. So this is our team. We're small, but we're mighty. We have 2 former lawyers, myself being one of them on our team. with over 12 years legal experience. And then our CTO, Travis, he is the reason why we exist. He sold his company to Yahoo in 2013. He hired a great law firm, and then he called his two friends saying, why the hell are my lawyers faxing me documents? Why are there 5 people on the phone calls? Why am I paying for all this stuff? Why isn't this done better? We also have 2 other software engineers, Molly and Rajan, who are fantastic. One's from the University of Waterloo, the other from the University of California. What's most exciting about this team, though, is that we built Canada's largest legal marketplace that already captured over $250,000 worth of legal projects over the last 2 years. We took the legal marketplace and what we learned from it and built technology to automate what the lawyers were doing. So now the lawyers can do the high-value work. Well, we just launched 1 month ago, and I'm really happy to say that within the last month, we already have over 25 companies that have been incorporated on the platform and about 65 or 70 accounts that have been created. This is just in Ontario. If we look into 2018, we're going to be launching in Alberta, launching in British Columbia, and then taking our first steps into the United States. And then also in 2018, we're going to be building out our law firm package with the national law firms. Oh, I lost the last slide. So there's a couple of things I wanted to focus in on right at the end. First, we just launched and we already have 25 companies that have been incorporated with 70 accounts. Second, and I haven't mentioned it yet, is we are in the midst of closing a seed round. We are looking to raise between $750,000 and $1 million. Approximately $350,000 of that is soft-circled already. And that money is being used to do 2 things: increase our sales and then increase our feature set in jurisdictions. One of the unique things with our business is that we have to localize it for each jurisdiction. And the last thing I wanted to end on is we have the opportunity to be the platform in law. The QuickBooks doesn't exist yet in law. And that's what we're building. I'd love anyone to come. If you have questions after, if you want a promo on how you can incorporate your company really well and really cheap, come talk to me after, and you can find us at founded.co. Thanks.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Angelo, do you want to kick us off?
Sure, but I'm kind of nervous. You're a lawyer, and I'm not. And I'm concerned that you'll be billing me after the 1 minute. So, but I'm not online yet. And so you talked about your ask and your current soft circled, which is good. And the one thing that I would need to know, which you should include in your pitch deck, is the valuation. So what am I getting in return for the ask that you're looking for? Another element that would really help, I see it from the SME side, from the business side, but I didn't see it from the legal side. It would be really good to provide some feedback as to what law firms and individual lawyers practicing say about your technology and how wonderful it is, because they could actually be your feet on the pavement and bring in more customers onto the solution. So some of those elements could really strengthen it. I really like that you've reached out to that whole ecosystem, the accelerator and incubator ecosystem, because that also will spread your traction in the marketplace. And good presentation. So I just think some minor tweaks and you'll do well. Good stuff.
So I noticed up front you mentioned something around this obviously isn't magic. And so I like that you've said that. But from an investor perspective, it's good to know why it isn't. And obviously, we want to know the details behind it and how this is working. It's easy enough to say that you have a company come in and you take care of everything. But there are obviously risks involved and why I'm getting involved for a $29 a month solution versus going to a lawyer. You want to be careful about stating as to why yours is a legitimate solution up front. I also like that you talked about the accounting problem and the fact that QuickBooks does not exist in law. I would actually personally lead with that story because that sets the context up front that this doesn't exist here and this is where I'm looking to come in and change things. The slide on your business model, sorry, not this one, the slide on the business model, I thought it was a little bit wordy. Maybe you want to segregate it into 3 different streams as to these are the 3 ways we're doing this. Sorry, I hear the alarm, but I just have a few more points.
I give you 20 seconds of my time.
Thank you, Jess. You talked about white labeling for law firms. Maybe also speak to the feedback or data that you're getting from the 25 companies that you have on board. So we want to know that you validated this market and what's the feedback and the uptake, etc. So obviously you've gone to the right channels, but we want to know what they're saying as well. And I think that's about it. Oh, yes. Sorry, one last thing. I would just be more graphic in terms of your slides. Investors don't like to read. They want to see colorful pictures and different visuals, really. But otherwise, very good presentation.
Solid presentation, a lot of good information. One of the things that I thought was very compelling was that it's a great way for startups and medium-sized businesses. And then I think of the companies that I already have that aren't online, and this would be so much easier. So, you know, an onboarding process for somebody who's already incorporated, but getting them onto your platform. You have a lot of territory to cover and a lot of market, but that's just a personal thing. I'm like, oh, that would be so much easier to do it that way down the road. What I didn't see was an exit. I think there are definitely lots of exit opportunities and lots of things on the horizon. But again, please dangle that carrot if somebody wants to put money in. They also want to know that it's coming back. So dangle that carrot along the way. And then one of the other things that might be interesting is there's some different platforms that help people find investing and then report to their shareholders. So Hockey Stick is a local one, Gust out of the States, and they're all starting to look at different nuances and sort of how they can be further part of the continuum, especially Gust. So there might be an opportunity in terms of down the road when you're talking about exits and some of the opportunities that way, because they're already building some stuff internally. Thank you. Good presentation.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Okay, any questions from the crowd? You'll take this, right? So you can answer some of them. Any questions? Yeah.
Very nice presentation. I have a question about your marketing plan. So basically, I saw you attend to a lot of accelerator and incubators to attract some startup business and to use your platform. But you mentioned the market, there's a 90% about that small business haven't like spent the right money on the correct law or services. So how would you track the rest of the market? Like, what's your plan to approach them?
Absolutely. So one of the channels is not just the accelerators, but also small business centers. So for example, next Tuesday at City Hall, we're doing a legal boot camp with a number of entrepreneurs, and that's with Enterprise Toronto. Next, I think in January, we're at the Small Business Center in Waterloo doing the same kind of thing. So with the small business centers doing that. And then the other piece of it is a lot of the times when people are looking to incorporate or start their business, they're looking online, and that's where paid search comes in and strong content from our site being able to rank high on SEO.
Okay, great. Another question?
So are you only focusing on founding new companies, or if somebody already has a company, then you just help them file?
Yeah, great question. So today you can only incorporate a new company. Our developers are hard at work, and by the end of this year, very early Q1 next year, we'll be launching the ability to onboard your existing company.
So one thing I probably missed out, how is it different from the other competitors, which you can just pay a one-time fee, let's say $500 or $400, and they found a company, and then I don't have to pay anything monthly. So
absolutely, the main difference is that is the extent of their technology. All they can do is populate one template and then spit that out, and they don't know anything about your business. So with us, if you onboard your company and you add a new director, click add a new director, all the shareholders get a notification that this director is supposed to be added. They all have a consent that they need to file. They need to file documents with the government, resolutions that need to be prepared. All of that is done kind of magically in the background every time you need to do an event. So it's a full business legal solution where everything is kind of connected. And as a result, you don't have to worry about these things that you simply don't know how to do. So your company stays compliant month over month, year over year. Yeah.
Okay, another question? Yeah. Sorry.
Hi, great presentation. I just have a quick question about expansion into other markets. So have you considered maybe looking at, let's say, the creative entrepreneurship field? There's a lot of musicians and talent out there that need legal services like this that could really benefit from what you're doing.
Absolutely. We were at the Harborfront Center 2 months ago doing a presentation there. Definitely one of our segments that we look to in terms of providing content to, as well as presentations. Yeah.
A little curious on the model. $1,200 to incorporate. There's going to be some filing fees. That's what I normally pay with a lawyer to set up a small corporation. You're doing it on a monthly basis. So is there a minimum amount of time that somebody has to sign up for with the model, and what happens if they pull the plug because you're gonna do the services? So are you billing them all up front for all that and calling it a monthly amount? So I just want to kind of understand a little bit more about that model, and then how long is somebody locked in, and the thought around churn with respect to then keeping that person on board, and have you looked at what the churn rates might be on this type of business?
For sure. Fantastic. So you've hit the nail on the head. We charge 1-year minimums. And then subscriptions for renewal are also on a 1-year minimum, 1-year renewal period. So it's framed as a monthly cost, but it's on 1 year. In terms of churn, we are expecting churn to be higher than your traditional SaaS churn rates. We have a great opportunity, though, when it comes to your yearly renewal, because there are a number of legal documents that need to be filed with the government, and then corporate resolutions, dividends, and things like that that need to be prepared. Where it's a nice package to put together to incentivize the user to reapply again for the next year. So,
okay, that was great. Thank you, Derek. Thank you. Okay, so the next thing that we like to do when we get to this stage is, how many of you guys are actually 100% entrepreneur, dedicated, building a startup, excited to be here, all that good stuff? Oh, everybody, good. Everybody come on up to the front. Actually, what I'm looking for is 3 people that want to come up and do their elevator pitch. You got 30 seconds to talk about your business. This means if you've already pitched, you can't do it because you're going to be pitching again. But if you want to come up and tell everybody what you do, get some quick feedback, and it's a great way to make a relationship because people are going to remember who you are. So who's up for it? 30-second pitch. Come on up, come on up.
Jeffrey, Fahim. Hi guys, this is Fahim, and I am working on a startup called Loop Systems. It is a cloud-based freight forwarding company that addresses the problems of visibility and expensive costs associated with global trade. So we didn't start off with just starting a company. I started consulting a manufacturing company in the East. They had a lot of problems with visibility. So I tried to solve them. I got paid to do that. But then I realized that there's a big market out here in North America just connecting the manufacturers and the buyers on both sides and building a freight forwarding business as a whole. So this is what I've been working on for the past 9 months, and also working a day job just to support this. And yeah, I would love to come on board the next PitchIt as well with a full-on presentation to show you what we have accomplished so far. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Anybody else interested to jump up? Come on. Be dangerous. Come on. Come on. Come on up.
Hi. So my name is Zoe McKenzie, and I'm the founder of a company called Omni Messenger. So what Omni is a mobile app that allows people to schedule their text messages. So people can schedule their text messages to send at a future date and time, or when entering or leaving any location. So I got into the tech field with no previous experience other than having a smartphone. And in building this and launching the application on a beta version, just to kind of validate some of my assumptions, I realized that a lot of small businesses were using the platform to communicate with customers, run campaigns, invite people, let's say, for like a boutique hotel, a welcome text message and whatnot. So we're looking to expand our platform to include a web-based platform where people can do SMS campaigns and things of that nature. So, yeah. Oh, sorry, I forgot to mention, during my beta version, we acquired about 16,000 monthly active users, and I didn't do any marketing for that, so, yeah.
Very good. Awesome. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to jump into our next presentation, which is Robin. Dave.
I only have one slide, so. So I'm going to do a bit of an experiment. I'm not going to do a pitch as much as a teaser. So for those of you who are interested in a full-on pitch, we'll be doing that later. I think my co-founder is actually coming to York Angels next week to pitch. So to start things off, hands in the air if you're a fan of Jay-Z. Okay, a few hands in the air. Keep your hands in the air if you were at the show last night. One, great. I was two. I was there, yeah. Before I jump into what Robin is, I thought I'd start off by talking a bit about why we started Robin. So at Robin, we believe in the power of live experiences. Be it a concert, a comedy show, a sporting event, maybe a theater production. We believe that live experiences, great ones, have the power to change people's lives. 3/4 of millennials have said they prefer to spend their money on experiences rather than possessions. This is what is fueling the Instagram craze, right? Everyone wants to be doing cool things, or at least be seen to be doing cool things. That's a real opportunity. In fact, it's driving an experience economy that is valued at over $100 billion per year in North America alone. So what's the problem? The problem, as we have found, is that there are problems with access to live events and discovery of these live events. Let me first cover access. So access is why we started Robin. People know there are events they want to go to, but how do you get tickets to these events? Often, there's two options. Either you get them when they go on sale. That means you battle the bots. That means you pay attention for pre-sale codes and have special credit cards that are required. Or you line up with everyone else and you try to get through the masses at 10 a.m. on a Friday morning and hope and pray you get tickets. That's the first option. Real good option. The second option is that you wait and you get price gouged on StubHub or SeatGeek or some similar website. So those are your options for accessing live events. How much fun is that for the fan? What we realized over the past year is that the actual bigger problem is discovery. Let me try a thought experiment with you guys. Imagine this Saturday, your day is completely free. You have nothing planned. How do you find out about the event that you want to go to? I can tell you that they'll probably fit into one of two buckets. First, you'll talk to a friend or a group of friends, someone in the know maybe. That's one option. The second option is that you read blog sites or review sites, a blog TO, for example, and look at their regular list of events that are coming up. Those are your real two options. If you're a marketer's dream, your third option is to click on a link in a StubHub or Ticketmaster email. But I mean, that rarely happens. So these are the two issues. Oh, I'm actually going to say to you that I think you'll select the fourth option. The fourth option is, like every single Jay-Z fan in here, you didn't go to the show. You missed out. And why did you miss out? You missed out because your friends don't know all the events you want to go to. And the fire hose that is online media consumption, you cannot possibly pick out all the events you want to go to. It's just not possible. So we built Robin. We built Robin to fix this problem. So what is Robin? Robin is a digital intelligent personal concierge that learns the events you want to go to and comes to you with an option to experience that event. Pretty simple. Here's how it works. 1, we mine your consumption data and bring you the experiences that you want to go to. 2, We do this over SMS and text mainly. There's no app to download. There is no browsing required. There is no store to visit. We come to you wherever you are. And 3, we collect unique demand data that suppliers can simply not get anywhere else. This is information on the customer. This is their consumption habits. This is also their willingness to pay. This allows us to partner with a pile of different suppliers. That could be a ticketing company, that could be an artist or event organizer, it could be a promoter, it could be a venue, for instance. Live events, this is, I lost my spot. It's new. Oh, there's good news. Here's the good news. We're not a ticketing company. I know it might sound like we're a ticketing company. We are not. We are building a product designed specifically for consumers to bring them the events that they want to go to. The ticket is just a means to get in the door. The good news is it's already working. So we launched a year ago, and since then, we've already been down to Techstars in LA for 3 months. We've done $250,000 in sales, and we have 20% of our transacted users have used us a second time. Those are pretty good stats. What we've recognized also in the last year, I should also mention that that's with a pride which I would admit to you is not very good. And also, we're charging more than the average vendor. So we think we can actually double our sales if we were priced at parity. What we've also learned in the last year is who our customer is. There's a great opportunity in businesses. So recently we launched Robin for Business. Robin for Business helps businesses to get access to events for their clients, their employees, and their customers. It is no longer acceptable in a corporate America or corporate Canada to have a corporate box and expect your client to think you're special for going to a Leafs or Raptors game. The diversity of the workforce is such that that doesn't matter. It's not unique. It's not affordable. And you're not sharing anything about the client that you know anything about them. And more importantly than that, from a business perspective, you're losing money. Hand over fist. A lot of these things go to waste. What we do is we help these clients make sure that they're spending their money effectively, that we pick the events that are curated for their clients or their employees or their customers. We save them time, but they don't have to sit here and sift through all the possible options, and we get them better access. It turns out that on StubHub and SeatGeek, these suppliers don't have great access. That's really Robin in a nutshell. If you want to learn more about the experience economy and how millennials are thinking about it, come talk to me. If you want to know about our growth and our capital raising projections, come talk to me. If you just want tickets for Jay-Z tonight, he's still in town, he's on stage at 9:15, come talk to me. I'm Dave, this is Robin.
Okay, thank you.
The honors.
So Dave, I love how you ended. That was really nice, a sweet way to wrap everything up. You're obviously a very captivating speaker, so good stuff. I also really liked the beginning, the little preamble that you gave, saying that this isn't a pitch. It really sets the context, and we like that. We like hearing that. And a couple of questions you obviously cannot answer, but I'll put it out there. How do you actually get the supply data that you think others cannot? The other one, maybe I'll talk to you after about it. How do you learn with that consumption data, and how do you gather that? You know, how are people signing up, etc. I love the stats on the sales, etc. Maybe you want to have that up front. That also gets people excited. And why are you charging double? We want to know why. I think you said that we could do that much more in sales if we were at regular market rate. Why is your rate that much higher? And that really is it. And I know you left a lot of things in the open, which is both good and bad. But for the purpose of this, I think it was good. So that's all for me. Oh, sorry.
Very captivating, very interesting. I would say more of a product presentation than an actual investor pitch. So great for this audience in terms of you probably are going to walk away with several users here from it. Absolutely. Probably not going to walk away with an investor just in terms of not hitting on some of the points. But it was definitely, I've heard good things from Sunil and already heard good things before you came. So great to see this beginning. Looking forward to the actual investor pitch. You put a few tidbits out there for investors. It seems to be like I say this a lot, but exit will be a nice one, future, ways the money will come back and different things like that. So maybe in the little tidbits of like future opportunities, that would be something, breadcrumb that you could drop. And is there, in terms of the big data that you're collecting, is there going to be any aggregated information that then you can resell, beyond or repackage as sort of like a secondary thing, which is probably what you've already laid the groundwork for, but maybe again, drop that breadcrumb and, because again, that's another opportunity and another channel for investors to get excited about. Okay, thank you.
So you'll be at the screening meeting. I'm always there. Okay, well, I'll give you some advice for him, right? First of all, we really don't worry too much about the presentation because we interrupt almost instantaneously and get you to concentrate on the real key elements of what we look for. And those would be, what are you looking for in terms of investment? What's your valuation? You told a really interesting story. So how do you prevent others from replicating your story? And take a different perspective. Maybe your competitor that can replicate, they might not want to charge double. They might only want to charge 1.5. And so you have to lay out how you're going to prevent those competitors coming in and encroaching. I always like to say it's a moat, but more important, I like moats that have a bunch of sharks inside the moat. So as you try to swim across it, you get eaten, right? And the other element, build in, because I've seen some technologies and some platforms that tie into trying to enable millennials who are not happy to become happy. And to a certain degree, that's what you're talking about, right? That sharing this live event that would really increase your quality of life. So are you employing geocentric data also? So yeah, there is a live event that's just fantastic, but it's 75 miles away from me, and I'm a millennial, and I'm not going to jump into a vehicle, right? It needs to be accessible and tailored to your particular needs. So great stuff. Look forward to it, and we'll have fun on Tuesday.
Okay, thanks, guys. Any questions from the audience?
How are you acquiring customers or your users right now?
It's on, yeah. So we've acquired customers in a number of different ways. We're pretty scrappy about it, to be honest with you. So one of the things that we did, which I like talking about, which is, I don't know how legal it is, but we used to buy tickets on the primary market and then sell them on the secondary market at cost, and then we'd splice it in our own ads for Robin instead of taking out like the Ticketmaster ads. So we put that out there. That was one funny, interesting one. The real way we've actually acquired a lot of our users is we partner with bands. So we've run some of their pre-sale stuff. So then they point their customers in our direction, their fans in our direction. We onboard them. We give them the pre-sale code, and then they're kind of a Robin user, and then we convert them that way. We've done a lot of partnerships with actually influencers in LA and actually across the States. So we've gotten, I can't believe they're actually a term, but these influencers to bring us customers. We'll get them tickets, that kind of thing.
But is that scalable? The question.
Yeah, so I think influencers are certainly scalable. The other options are, we don't have a growth person on our team. We don't have a marketing person on our team. Okay. We are doing it all by ourselves, trying to integrate with different communities and stuff online. We're doing a pretty scrappy job of it. And I think once we actually do have someone on board who can actually focus on growth and knows how to do it really effectively, I think we'll be doing well. To be honest with you, I think we're growing relatively well considering. And so having $250,000 in sales kind of tells you that it's on the right path. It's got to pour some gasoline on that fire.
So a lot of your pitch was focused on the customer who's going to discover new events. But I guess this is a two-way street as well, because you also need the vendors or the venues to participate and be discoverable. So do you do anything to incentivize them with metrics?
So a lot of vendors have APIs. So we integrate with their APIs, and so we can get access to a lot of their events. It's in their best interest to integrate with us because we're selling tickets for them. So a really simple way for them to get sales, essentially, right? So that's why they would integrate with us. And then a lot of the things, I think, one of our theses, I guess, is that there's a pile of live events that people want to go to, they just don't know about. And there's a pile of people putting on live events that also have empty seats. And so there's a real opportunity there to fill those seats more often. I know in live music, the stat is half of all concerts, half of all concert tickets go unsold. So yes, there are the Adeles of the world that'll sell it in a minute, but there's also a pile of mid-range artists that don't sell enough tickets. And those, you can think of any event from like mid-range down that don't have all the tickets sold.
Any other questions?
As I understood, you said that you don't use any mobile apps or anything like that. So what happens if I'm in a different place and I'm a fan of Lady Gaga, for example, in Los Angeles, but my profile says that I live in Mississauga. But I'm for 3 months in Los Angeles and there's something there. So how could you see my location and say that, okay, so there's actually something for Lady Gaga in there, so the time that I'm in?
Yeah, I'll make 2 points in this one. So we don't have a mobile app. So we don't have a mobile app. We have a web app. So if you really wanted to go into the site, you can just see Lady Gaga and click on the right city. Generally speaking, the way we build is we don't build until either we always start, one of our principles is payment for a product. And what that means is either internally we're really painful. So I'm like the man in the machine. I'm doing a lot of the manual work, and we don't actually build something until we've tested and made sure that there's a real need for it. Otherwise, you waste a lot of development resources. And so we have actually had this come up a number of times where people are like, "Well, I travel a lot, and they spend a lot of money on tickets." And so that's actually something we are prioritizing to build out in the near future, is kind of that kind of tracking. But we don't really build those types of things until we actually absolutely know that we need them. And so that's certainly one of them that we're going to be thinking about building.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, buddy. Okay, so we've had somebody reading your brain. We've had Angels with some great feedback. And now we're going to have Danielle from the government. She's going to come in and show us how to get some of those dollars that they've been storing up and bankrolling, I guess. See if they can bankroll your business.
Except I'm more fun than the government. So I'm representing Ontario Centres of Excellence. I know many people have heard of that organization. It's a nonprofit that brings in a whole host of startup and innovation commercialization programs that directly fund companies. So my programs in particular are focused on, I think, many people in this room's favorite word, which is investment. So the Market Readiness Program and the Smart Start Program are focused directly on early stage companies. The Smart Start Program has invested over $18 million in the last 5 years through 30K matching funds. And the Smart Start and the later stage program, which is Market Readiness, which I'm heading up, is focused on later stage companies. They've gone through a number of programs, including campus-linked accelerator programs, and now they're at the stage where they're looking for their early stage pre-seed or seed rounds, and we'll invest $125 or $250. You can get both, or you can go straight for the $250K. So there's $1,000 behind that. And realistically, we always work through our business development officers. So if you have a contact to OCE, please go through them and say that you're interested in market readiness. Otherwise, please feel free to contact me directly. We are running this program as an investment portfolio. So that's a change that's been happening in the last year. And I'm out here to raise awareness about that and hopefully bring in more high potential companies like the ones we've seen tonight. We spoke to Robin recently. And realistically, if you're interested, please reach out to me. I'm here all night. I have lots of cards. So feel free to reach out. Thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you. Okay, and we have Galen from Bark and Yapp to wrap it up.
Always at the tail end. the tail wagging the dog, right? All right. Thank you very much. My name is Galen Udell. I am the founder and top dog of a company called Bark and Yapp, and we are today creating the very first consolidator and marketplace solution exclusively for the dog industry. And in the process of doing that, we're going to try to reduce the stress, anxiety, and fear that a lot of dog owners have today when it comes to trying to find items for their fur kids. So I use that term fur kids because that's really what's happening today in the marketplace. Who are the dog owners that we have out here today? So you're probably not indicative of the normal population. We have about 70% of households today have dogs. Those of you who have stuck up your hand, are your dogs part of your family? Because that's really the case today. I came about putting this together because my wife and I are uber dog parents. That's all we have. Our two dogs are now our third and fourth. They're teaching us how to be really good humans. And we did this really to try to find a way that all the fear that we went through in trying to find what we wanted for our dogs. You can see little Maisie here, all the things that go along around her head, all the things that are involved in her life. We've now humanized our dogs. And this is really starting to push, right now with the millennials, are the ones that are really starting to generate the whole buzz around humanizing their dogs. And then we add on top of that, this technology that's being applied into this industry. We have everything from treat machines that are set up in your home where you can have a video camera and release a treat to your dog. We have cloning that's happening in this industry. We have all sorts of technology that's being applied into this industry, and it's now become a $56 billion marketplace in North America and $100 billion globally, and growing at 6% per year. So it's growing faster than the normal economy is. And the lifetime spend now on a dog has moved up from $12,000 3 years ago to $20,000. And it's just continuing to escalate. So with that, there's always, now we've got a ton of confusion that's going on in the marketplace. We have all of these new products being launched every year. There's over 3,000 new products coming into this marketplace every year. But you have on top of that all of the technology being applied from the smartphones. It's how people now are trying to consume this information in a highly fragmented marketplace. You have the only space out here that's not fragmented are the veterinarians. Other than that, and the very large producers, the Purinas of the world. Other than that, highly fragmented. And in fact, 94% of the marketplace have less than 4 employees. That becomes really difficult when you see this e-commerce coming on top of it, everybody moving online to buy. The bricks and mortar stores are really struggling to stay alive. And on top of that, they have no idea how to deal with the technology around getting themselves online. They think putting up a Facebook page is just enough. That's really not. It's a really hard industry for them to tackle and how to do that with their limited skills. And then we're also seeing this massive consolidation that's happening in this market space. So with that, we have a whole lot of problems that are going on, and I can't seem to go in the right direction, but we'll. So imagine if you had the ability to have a way to gather all the information that was peer-reviewed, that was there from other dog owners that were really invested in what they're doing and at your fingertips, and be able to share that information, but at the same time for the businesses to be able to connect directly into that engaged audience. And that's where Bark and Yapp comes in. Here we go. Oh, I'm too fast with my fingers here. So Bargaining App, we're a platform today where we have the businesses on one side where they're able to bring themselves together, put their businesses up online in a consolidated manner that's very consistent. It's a way that the dog owners can really see what the businesses are all about and have the ability for the dog owners to be able to then come and start to research and review them and then put in some peer-reviewed data into that model. We also are gathering a ton of data on who the real end user is. That's the dog. So not the person, but the dog. We're getting down to the level of what breed it is, what size it is, what are their preferences. So now we can help the businesses to increase their ROI on marketing because they know exactly who they can market to. So we're on a mission to connect dog owners to the businesses that love them and all the resources they need to make their lives better. And how it really works is the businesses will set themselves up on our platform. We scrape the data, we bring the businesses in so they can find themselves. And then if they're not there, they can actually add themselves to our database. So with that, they then would be able to, I need a lesson on this. And then they end up on our platform. We are in market, web app and mobile app. For the users, they have the ability to go and create their own accounts. They connect themselves. It's the dog. It's all around the dog. So this is my dog, Chili. These are her friends. She can create her packs, and then her packs are going to be able to share with her. Okay, this thing is not friendly for me. So it's not dog friendly. It's not, yeah. So the dog owners then are allowed to set up their accounts. They can map themselves. I don't know why this is. Am I supposed to point it here? Okay. Sorry, guys. But thank you. So this is it's a positive feedback loop model. So what we've got here is it's a community-based model. We bring the communities together. It's peer content review, drives the traffic into the review side of the model, and then increases the happiness for the dog owners. Then, thus creating a positive feedback loop, which then creates your community, which then drives the revenue for the businesses. Today, it's a subscription model for the businesses to join into our network. They'll be able to have advertisements and promotions, because we also believe this has to be offline, because dog owners do things offline. And as well, then we move into a transactional model where we'll be able to transact over the network. And on top of that, we'll build in SaaS products specifically for the small businesses in this marketplace. And then big data is where we eventually end up with this model. Okay, so you might have to click that for me because I have no idea which direction that goes in. We'll get to the next. There you go. So the size of this market is massive. So we have today 235,000 businesses in North America. We're dealing with 6,000 of them right now in our model. So we have 6,000 businesses that we brought in to the model. The industry is growing at a very high rate. Go ahead. The spend in this marketplace, so it's not only the spend that's happening from the dog owners, but we also have a marketing spend that's happening with the businesses. $3 billion in offline. And there's another $700 million that's being spent on digital advertising that's growing at 12% per year. So it's a massive spend going on in this marketplace. Our key focus areas are community, product market fit, and geographic expansion. So talking about the community, we have 35 million dog owners that are in our primary market set. These are dog owners in the upper three quartiles that are spending a massive amount on their dogs. We're really now focused, though, on trying to figure out the Toronto marketplace. So we're focused specifically on 3 key markets: Liberty Village, King West, and City Place. High intensity of millennials, first-time dog owners. We have 30,000 women in that space that are 25 to 54. This is the key market for us, a key demographic we're going after. Our other onboarding technique is through a program we set up with some shelter and rescue. Giving is at the very heart of what we do in our company. And it's all about building right now brand awareness and engagement. Next one. On the product market side, We have our beta test went on in Toronto in 2015. OCE, they're here. We participated in the Smart Start grant, used that to build out our mobile app. We launched a web app in 2016, and really our official launch 2017, we put this on mobile. That's really what was required here, was a mobile app in this marketplace. We now have 250 business accounts. We have over 10,000 social followers. We do everything organic with respect to how we do build up our marketplace. And we have over 1,000 members now within our market. Go ahead. On top of that, we're building some relationships with some brand partners. Earth Rated is the largest poop bag company in North America. We're working with them. They're out of Montreal. Northern Biscuit out of Mississauga. Blue Stem, which is breath care for your dog. So we're focused in on a number of different companies, different verticals, to see how they fit within our model. So what we've got from a user perspective, we're 450% year-over-year growth on our users. Our unique site visits are up 190% year-over-year. And our cost of user acquisition, that's to bring a dog owner in, has dropped from $65 per person down to $14. And we continue to drive that down because these are free people coming on board, but they drive our entire network. We have, just put it back there. We have some really tremendous key metrics. The one we're really proud of is a 5%, less than 5% churn rate. So people are coming on our platform and they're staying. We do have some competition in this marketplace. So from the competitor's perspective, only one of these is in Canada. That's Pet Vibe. They are mobile only, but they are more for all pets. So they're not dog specific. They are working right now to try to figure out how they can come across Canada, but they're based out of Victoria. The rest of them are all in the US. Very, very high. This one here, Rover, Dog Vacay, huge numbers, $54 million merger that just happened about 4 months ago. So from a projections perspective, obviously, we have some very large hockey sticks. This really has to do with us bringing down our key metrics on acquisition costs, but also growing to the US. And we have multiple revenue streams. So from our past investment, we had $150,000 between OCE and Smart Start. That was broken up, mostly development costs. We're looking for a $200,000 out of $1 million pre-money, excuse me, in a convertible note. And that's gonna be split up primarily between development, marketing, and SG&A. And that will build out, our short-term roadmap. This gets us this short term here, which is expand to the US, expand to Western Canada, as well as a couple product. Then we're going for another round of funding, which will allow us to go to the US. Next one. And so really there's a huge opportunity in this marketplace. We're a leader right now in this marketplace. There's nobody else that's doing what we're doing here. And as these people move into digital, we're building a repeatable and scalable playbook at this point in time. So we can take this and run it out into new communities as we find lookalike communities. And on top of that, we have multiple revenue streams. We're not just banking on advertising. That's critical. And we do have a number of exits that we've identified. So we do have vertical opportunities in the consolidation space. We've been talking to Purina already through a contest they ran. We also have people like Yelp and Yellow Pages that need to figure out this market as well. And we also have a number of retailers that we focus on. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Angela, you want to kick it off?
Hey, Galen, how you doing? And how much did you pay? Oh, yeah, well, these things happen. How much did you pay Jeffrey to have your logo right in the top upper? Kudos. Exactly. In your presentation, you talk about lifetime spend for pet owners in the 20K. And I believe that it excludes vet costs?
That includes vet costs.
Okay, it includes, okay. So I think you should highlight that also in your pitch. Also, one thing that you might want to explore, you talk about connecting pet lovers with businesses, but also expand on the ability for these micro businesses to connect to each other for potential collaboration and growth. The more that can connect, the stronger they become, and as each one becomes stronger, then your platform becomes a more significant pitch. The other thing is, so you talked about the ask and the valuation, which are really within the whole realm of the angel community, although we'll ask you to justify how you got to that number and go through a lot of details. The one thing that really needs to be highlighted is beyond the current traction in terms of the number of users and businesses, what is your current revenue stream, and how repeatable is that revenue stream in terms of MRR and also the customer acquisition, but also identify the lifetime value of the customer. Because these dogs have a pretty healthy credit card.
I just totally ignored that.
He knows that.
Hi, Galen. Nice to see you. So a couple of things, just echoing a few of the things Angelo said, but primarily you started in 2015, I know, with the beta, etc. So it would be nice to know, I know you had a little slide about how things have progressed since, but from a revenue perspective, I don't have that numbers, but all I saw 4 hockey sticks. All right, sure, but state that up front, right? So that I know what's going on. And then maybe also it's a good idea to talk about how you plan to acquire customers on both sides, from the dog owner as well as from the other partner channeling. I think you tell a really good story, and you highlight the problem really well because obviously you're close to it, but I don't feel like I got much from a sales and marketing strategy perspective as to how you plan to go out and acquire and achieve the good things that you want to. I really like the Toronto focus as well, because that shows that that's something you want to focus in on, prove the market, and then scale it up and take it from there. And the last thing around the business model, I saw the multiple streams, but I still don't know dollar figure-wise how you plan to make money in terms of, X amount for this and is a recurring model, etc. Okay. Thanks.
So I'll be brief because apparently Angelo took 30 seconds of my time and Prathna took 15, but love to see the evolution. I saw this back in the spring. Just a whole new world, great presentation. It's not so much that you've pivoted, it's in a whole new level and realm, so that was really good to see. I enjoyed that. I'd love to see a little bit on team. I don't feel there's a lot of passion there, but I'd love to know the team and advisors and so on and build that out. Really happy that you actually talked about things like raise, valuation, exit. Those are all very exciting. When you go last, you get down to nitpicky stuff. So this is meant with love and best interest. Some of the pie charts where it's really white writing with the visuals behind, small pie charts. I bet you those are really salient numbers that I couldn't actually see, and they might be help in my decision-making process. But just a world of difference. So congratulations, kudos. See, look, that's how you do it without an alarm.
That was good. Thank you. All right, who has any questions? Come on, you guys all have dogs. I'm sure there's some questions out there. How are you going to attract customers?
So we use, today it's through social, very high targeting into the Toronto marketplace is one way. We run basically weekly events within these communities. So we're very present within those communities, talking to them. We have a 1,500 person meetup group in Toronto that's for dog meetups. So we talk to those people on a regular basis. Sorry? Yeah, so they're dog meetup events, but we're actually now going to start some talking events as well. We're bringing in veterinarians so that way they can't bring their dogs to that over the winter, but it's educational for them. So that's really how we're out there working with those and working with vendors. Our vendors that we have, we talk to them and they're helping us also to bring on new customers.
Is there any suggestions for the audience on how we'll use the term, what did they say, actionable, or something that drives a lot of attention? So your marketing side, is there something that you do that really helps drive people to the site or drives
businesses in?
Some sort of tactic that you've used?
Our biggest tactic that we're using is for the users are the events, the local events that we're running. So we just ran a massive Halloween event down in City Place. We ended up on the news with that on CTV News. It's the largest dog costume event in Toronto now. We had over 130 dogs at that. We had 250 people, but then we worked with a number of the restaurants and businesses down in City Place and the BIA to really get the message out within that community. So we're really boots on the ground. We have to be in there. We're just going to start a campaign of going around dog parks and interviewing people, talking to them. So we're taking this approach of really trying to be everywhere within that community. People are very skeptical to do something online. They see some fun pictures, they'll come and visit us. We're tracking pretty good numbers in that, but it's far better if we actually approach them and talk to them, hand them some information.
I may have missed this in the speech, but how do you know exactly what the dog's like? Is it through your own input on the app? Are you choosing what they like, or is there a way of determining specifically what their interests are? Like, how are you putting in this data into the app?
So they're putting it in themselves. So dog owners will review. They'll put reviews in. So we're tracking how many reviews are coming in. That's one of our key metrics that we're monitoring and pushing, and we're looking at creating a rewards program to incentivize the dog owners to start putting more reviews in, because that's really critical on that positive feedback loop. So the more reviews that we can get in the system, then the bigger the positive feedback loop is.
Okay, great. Any other questions? All right, Galen, thanks a lot. I want to thank all of you guys for coming out. You're all rock stars for getting your ass down here, so good job. Thank you very much for the 3 advisors. You guys did a fantastic job. So big hand for the advisors. A bigger hand for everybody that came up and pitched today, because they did a great job. I think one of the key messages that we got today was you need to start looking and focusing on community. Building a community around the business that you're trying to grow is going to help you figure out what people want and actually grow inside the business. So I thank you guys for joining our community tonight. Have a great night, and feel free to reach out to anybody, network, hug, do all those good things, but enjoy yourselves, and we will see you guys next time, next month. All right, take care. Thank you.